Let's talk about, DC stuff. Like on this channel, we have this thing called DCU Daily. So on today's episode of DCU Daily, I want to talk to you, Angelina, about this story that came out earlier last week, and then it got quickly debunked by James Gunn. So there's this website called Giant Freaking Robot, which is, for everybody in the nerddom who is into comic book movies. And even like if you're into just action and just big blockbuster Hollywood franchises, they're one of the websites out there that gives you good story and coverage. They're not like Variety or Hollywood Reporter. They're not like a industry trade kind of a site or Deadline. However, they occasionally, have a scoop here and there, and sometimes it's a good one, sometimes it's not. They had a story running that Daniel Craig was being offered the role of Lex Luthor in the new DCU, so the upcoming Superman Legacy movie. And so one of the people, who was clearly reading the article went on Threads and sent James Gunn a message saying, "Hey, is this true?" with a screenshot of the story. And then James Gunn on Threads responded with a very clear and concise, "That is not true," or "This is not true." So the question I'm bringing to you today is, let's say for theoretically speaking, right? Like, because there's many reasons why this doesn't have to be true. The most obvious being because James Gunn said it, and then it's just factually not true. It could also be that they were in negotiations, but with the SAG after a strike, they can't really talk about it until it's official. They can't talk about it. There just goes against. I'm sure James Gunn would not want to go against the union in any way. There's so many reasons, or it just maybe it was something that was happening at one point, and then it fell apart because it wasn't a good fit. For whatever the reason might be, I just want to play devil's advocate, or just let's theoretically say that Daniel Craig was offered the role of Lex Luthor in Superman Legacy, an actor of his caliber, who I think is probably the greatest James Bond of all time, who is currently doing fantastically well for himself in those Knives Out movies. What do you think about the idea of Daniel Craig possibly playing Lex Luthor in the DC?
Honestly, I think it would be, because we chose Bill Skarsgard as like out of the choices we had, right? But if Daniel Craig is in the mix, like it has to be Daniel Craig. I think I think it would be really good for him to be able to play Lex Luthor, to play the villain after playing those. Okay, I'm sorry. Knives Out is like so whatever. Like his character in Knives Out is so hokey,
over the top, like
very
he has
hokey.
Fun with it,
I am
clearly.
not into it. And so after seeing him play Bond, right, the Bond, James Bond, it would be so good to like find him in a character that can be taken a little bit more seriously, can sort of dive into the depths, and be super fun to see him play the villain. I'm like, yes, absolutely, he would be my choice. But have I ever seen him play the villain before? I don't know if I have. Has he ever played the villain?
I don't know. He's definitely had some, before James Bond, he wasn't really like a A-list actor, I wouldn't say.
Yeah.
Like, he was doing a lot of supporting roles. I believe maybe one or two of his supporting roles were like he wasn't playing somebody who was, you would consider an antagonist, but I don't believe he's really played any kind of like iconic or memorable villainous roles. So
this would be awesome. Like it'd be super cool to see it. I definitely think he has the capacity to do it. I'm not worried about his like capacity as an antagonist, but he would be my choice. But you're right. I mean, if James Gunn shot it down, there's a chance that he shot it down because negotiations aren't done. There's a chance that he shot it down because of the SAG strike, which is affecting everything, because it would look really, really bad to cast somebody during the strike right now. And it would look really bad on Daniel Craig if he accepted a role right now. So
definitely.
It could be either way, but James Gunn could, I mean, it might not happen. Dan, how would you feel if it didn't happen? Are you okay? Will you be okay?
I will be okay, because look, I love the idea of somebody like Bill Skarsgård playing it. I think when we talked about it last week, Bill Skarsgård, Alexander Skarsgård, Nicholas Hoult, Jesse Eisenberg, whoever, plays Lex Luthor. I think all of those
I still stand by it. I really
actors.
don't want to see Nicholas Hoult play with Lex Luthor. I don't.
Well, but as terms of being talented actors who have the emotional depth to be able to kind of play a character who has like a lot of layers to him, because if you go by the on-screen portrayals of Lex Luthor, or if you go by the comics or the animated shows and TV appearances over the years, Lex Luthor is an incredibly complex character. He's one of the best, most iconic comic book characters of all time, especially when you consider, whether it's a villain or from the rogues gallery of any superhero, or just a character who's not super powered, but there is so much to him in terms of what he aspires to, how he serves as a foil to Superman, as well as just who Lex Luthor is in general as a person. I think Daniel Craig has all the talent in the world to come in and play a fantastic version of Lex Luthor. It's just a matter of, whether it's true or not. We'll find out. As of right now, James Gunn is saying that this is not true. Doesn't mean we won't get a casting announcement, once the strike is over and we get back to movie making in Hollywood. Until then, or it may never happen. Like, for all we know, we will get like a Bill Skarsgård, which would be perfectly, fine. I think it would be great. Ultimately, when the movie comes out, you judge the movie on its merits. And I think I'm looking forward to Superman Legacy because the casting they have already confirmed, whether it's Nathan Fillion as Green Lantern, David Cornsweet as Superman, or Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane, those are all great castings. So, hey, we're going to be talking more about all of this stuff on DCU Daily. As every time new things break out, I think one of the things I'm going to talk about in the upcoming episodes is Blue Beetle's box office projections are coming out now. And they're not very good. So we'll talk about that on a future episode of DCU Daily. But until then, keep coming back here for updates. Again, daily, Monday to Friday, we give you the latest from the world of DCU, everything DC related. And thanks, Angelina, for joining me on this special version of DCU Daily.